Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate every one of you. Special shout out, by the way, to my youngest brother, Cade, who's going to be graduating from high school this weekend. So I'm very proud of him, and I am happy to go see him do that. And by the way, if you're wondering how it is that he was still in school up until this point, he does not live in Tennessee. So, in Texas, the school runs a little bit later than it does out here. But that's fine. I'm still proud of him. I'm proud of him for buckling down, getting his head in the game, and finishing high school. And I am looking forward to all the amazing things that he is going to be doing in life. Because that's a smart kid. That's a smart kid. So I'm going to talk about the NBA Finals, obviously, because there's a lot to unpack there. Actually, there isn't. I'm just so used to saying the phrase, there's a lot to unpack, that I said it. There isn't a lot to unpack there. There's very little to unpack, in fact. It's pretty blatantly obvious what happened last night in the NBA Finals. So I'll still talk about it. My brother is coming in the show, hour number 2, to help break down NBA Finalsness as well, because because like we always have these wild and wonky opinions on how it is that these things go, and we'll probably both be gushing over the Warriors because we like the new basketball. Okay, we're fans of the way that they do this thing now. And I'm not one of those people that just really hates Kevin Durant for doing what he did. So we'll get to all of that stuff in a little bit, but first I want to talk about the Florida Gators. And then I guess a little bit later in the show, we'll talk about the SEC East as possibly the most confusing division in not just college football, but sports. So before we do that, the Florida Gators. Malik Zaire is going to be going to the Florida Gators. That was the school he was leaning to. He just needed the SEC to alter their graduate transfer rule, which they did. And now he will be headed to Florida. And I want to know, I thought yesterday, well, maybe I've been overhyping Malik Zaire a little bit. So I went back and watched the Malik Zaire games, because when I looked at Malik Zaire's numbers, I was kind of depressed. Nothing numerically stood out at me about Malik Zaire's time in Notre Dame, right? Like nothing stood out, right? He had a season where he's played 5 games, another season where he played 2 games, another season where he played 8 games. And yeah, it's a little depressing. It's just a little bit depressing when you watch the numbers, the fact that the guy can't stay healthy. He's a very injury-prone player. Malik Zaire is a guy I feel like can give you a lot if he ever could stay on the field. So if you're Florida, while you might be excited about Malik Zaire, and while Malik Zaire is automatically the best quarterback on your roster, there is no guarantee that Malik Zaire gives you any production at all, because Malik Zaire cannot guarantee that he can ever stay healthy. Now, with that being said, there are some games that Malik Zaire has played that you look at him and you go, no, this guy could ball. Like, if Malik Zaire does stay healthy, you are excited about what Malik Zaire can give you, right? The first big game that involves Malik Zaire is the Music City Bowl against LSU back in 2014. And Malik Zaire was absolutely balling out in that game. And by the way, he was splitting time with Everett Golson, because Brian Kelly is a chuckle face and an idiot. Why are you splitting time with your quarterbacks? Why don't you pick a guy, right? They ended up winning the game on a field goal, but anytime Malik Zaire had the ball in his hands in that game, he was nothing but pure magic. Absolutely pure magic. 4th and 9, need someone to make a play with his feet. Oh, there's Malik Zaire beating LSU's entire defense to pick up 10 yards. What? You need someone to throw a ball on the sideline when there's a blitz coming and he's throwing across his body while backpedaling and throws the ball on the money. Oh, look, there's Malik Zaire finding a target over on the sideline. Malik Zaire did nothing in that game but be awesome. You need somebody to run the option and then set a block for his running back to get him into the end zone. Oh, Malik Zaire, not just with a halfway decent block for a quarterback, but with an incredible block, an absolutely fantastic block, where he basically got gloves up under his face mask and just bodied the guy anyway. That's Malik Zaire, right? Incredibly athletic and strong arm, not very accurate, but quite accurate. And the first 2 seasons that he played at Notre Dame, his passing percentage was 60 and 65% respectively, right? Career 59% passer, albeit it's a very short career. Okay, it's 17 games, but still 60% passing. So it's not like this guy can't throw the ball. It just remains to be a health issue. Then you want further confirmation of Malik Zaire. The next year, week 1, opening game, Notre Dame, Texas. And by the way, Notre Dame put the works on Texas. In that game. I'm a Texas Longhorn fan, and every second of rewatching that game to figure out just how good Malik Zaire was suffering for me. I did it for you, so you're welcome. You're very, very welcome for what I did for you there, right? But Malik Zaire absolutely balled out in that game, making every correct throw, absolutely punishing the Longhorns for not playing good enough defense. Granted, if you follow the Longhorns that season, every week was a parade of disappointment, a new parade of disappointment as you figured out different ways that your favorite team could lose. So there's that. But regardless, he punished that defense and played very well. However, he broke his ankle the following week and was not able to play for the rest of the season, which is a trend with him, right? Like, because the Music City Bowl game was a pretty dominant performance for Malik Zaire. So dominant, in fact, that Everett Golson didn't think that he was going to be the starter the next year and transferred out to Florida State. He honestly thought, you know what, I don't have a chance of beating this guy out. I'm going to go to Florida State and be the quarterback down there. And then little did he know, if he had stuck around, Malik Zaire would be injured in 2 games and he would be able to play. So Deshaun Kaiser winds up being the one getting the large bulk of those games, and then Deshaun Kaiser did it again and now is in the NFL. Malik Zaire, who arguably is more polished as a quarterback currently, is not in the NFL because he has not played really at all. And there's just no team that's going to take the risk on a Malik Zaire given the injuries, right? So I look at Zaire. What can he do for Florida? Well, it depends, right? You have Malik Zaire, who is injury prone already. If he shows up in the SEC and these SEC defenses beat him up like they are prone to beat people up and he gets injured, he ain't giving Florida squat, right? He's not giving Florida a darn thing. It's just not about to happen. But if Malik Zaire stays healthy, right? Like, if you get one solid season from Malik Zaire, start to finish, a season where you don't have to rely on Luke Del Rio or Austin Appleby, but a guy that legitimately completes 60% of his passes, which is something that Luke Del Rio can say, but can throw the ball downfield with accuracy, which is something that Luke Del Rio cannot say, then yeah, Malik Zaire can give Florida a lot. And all of a sudden, that very murky, very confusing division of football that is the SEC East starts to become a little bit more clear. Because the problem with the SEC East is it has that parity that everyone's going on and on about. Like, are you excited about the SEC East? Because this, to me, is the parity test. If you're a person that loves parity, if you're a person that's you just enjoy when everybody has a chance, if that's you, you should love the SEC East. Because, man, I can't tell you who's good in that division. Right? We think Georgia's good. We think Florida's good. We think Tennessee is average. We think Kentucky's going to be slightly below average to average. We think South Carolina might be good, but we don't know. Really? We're not certain. If you love parity, like people say they love parity, oh, I don't like the Golden State Warriors because I feel like I know who's going to win the title. If you love parity, you ought to love the SEC East. You ought to love it, because who's actually going to win that? I feel like with Malik Zaire, I got to change my pick to Florida, which sucks because I really did like Georgia to win it. But I like Georgia to win it because I just don't know who the quarterback for Florida is. If I believe that person to be Malik Zaire, even if you get half a season of Malik Zaire, that is half a season enough, right? Like say you get from Malik Zaire 7-8 football games. It's not like Jim McElwain was out here winning with amazing quarterback play anyway. You lose Malik Zaire, it's next man up. Presumably, you've got a little bit of time and development into Felipe Franks that if he were to have to step in at some point in the season, he's not lost. He's not just learning this game for the first time. Maybe the speed of the game is a little bit easier for him to handle midway through the season, even if Malik Zaire can only give you half a season before he gets injured, because there are just some of those guys in this world, they get injured every season. And that's every sport. There's just a guy, he's Mr. Glass, right? Robert Griffin III, injured every season. Andrew Bogut, injured every season. You don't have a choice. It's happening. It's just happening. And Malik Zaire, until I see otherwise, is also one of those guys that's just kind of injured every year. If you get half a season from Malik Zaire, it is kind of worth it. And it does give you a little push in front of the 8 ball when you do play schools that are in a lot of ways inferior to you. Right? So I might be flipping my pick to Florida. I'll have to think about it. But it does make this whole wide open division, this whole division where it feels like anybody could really win it. Because like as much as people want to say, oh, Tennessee, there's no way they match their win total from next year, they completely regress. Does anybody actually know? Because Tennessee, the reason why we don't believe in Tennessee is because their coach is Butch Jones, who we still don't trust. And there's just a bunch of question marks on the team. And we couldn't trust Butch Jones to deliver when we knew what we had. How are we going to trust Butch Jones with all these question marks? But that being said, like Butch Jones is a solid football coach. So while it is not out of the realm of possibility that Tennessee could just not come anywhere close to winning 9 games again, they could win 9 games. Like if I told you at the end of this year, Tennessee won 9, you might be a little bit surprised, like pleasantly surprised, but you wouldn't be like really surprised. Like you wouldn't be floored. What? Tennessee won 9? You wouldn't be shocked. Because it's the SEC East. And who can know it? That's why Gus Malzahn wants to get there so bad. Because he's like, I don't know who else is going to be second best if I get there, but I know who'll be the best. Auburn will still be recruiting like Auburn. Right? And if this Jarrett Stidham thing works out for Gus Malzahn, you've got Jarrett Stidham for 2, maybe 3 more years. There's no reason to believe that this thing will ever back down. Right? You got it for 2, maybe 3 more years. Like, I could understand why you'd want to get to the SEC East that bad. I just think that wide open divisions of football, we think that that's what we want. Wide open divisions of sports. We want a wide open NBA. We want a wide open NFL. We want a wide open college football. No, we don't. Because I think we like to know. Right? I think we don't necessarily like dynasties. Like, I don't think we like the same team to win over and over and over again. But I think we like to know who's good and who stinks. There is a security in knowing, right? This is why people believe in conspiracy theories, because there is a security in believing that there is some purpose to what is happening. Even if that purpose is an evil purpose, there is a security that people have in simply knowing, right? It is, better to believe that some secret society is controlling everything, because at least that means that somebody is controlling everything, right? Like if the world just stinks because it's random and it stinks, well, that doesn't feel very good. I think we like to know. I think we like our teams to be cut and dry. I think we like everything to be sort of clear. And sure, if suddenly Missouri were to be good, we would be cool with that. But then Missouri would have to be good, right? Like it couldn't be just any week Missouri could win or Missouri could lose. We like it when teams are what they are. If what you are is good, be good. If what you are is bad, be bad. But don't do this thing where you're both. We don't like that. And the SEC East is a very blah-looking division of football right now because we don't know who's what. Like, who's actually good? Can we expect Georgia to legitimately be good? Well, that depends on the development of Jacob Eason, which we will just have to wait and see, which is uncomfortable, right? We don't know how Malik Zaire is going to really fit in at Florida, if he can stay healthy, what he can provide. That's just another wait and see, which is uncomfortable. Tennessee, so many question marks. Is it Garantano? Is it Dormady? How do they replace all of that defensive production? Running the football. Can we do that now? Like, is that a thing that Tennessee can still do? Because Alvin Kamara was surprisingly good. Is that a thing that the Vols can do? What's their pass defense look like? We don't really have a ton of clear-cut answers to these questions. And it's uncomfortable. It's very, very uncomfortable. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So last night, the NBA Finals, I said there was a lot to unpack there. There isn't a lot to unpack there. Kevin Durant is really the only thing to unpack there. I don't know why it is that people made it out to be somehow like the Warriors and the Cavs were equal. They were just these equal teams. And who would you rather have? Would you rather have the Cavs and the Warriors? Well, you know, if you had to do a draft, right? That's what Colin Cowherd was saying earlier in the week. And Colin Cowherd's on this station. You can catch him from noon to 3, I believe. He was on earlier talking about, well, if you can somehow draft a team, you would take LeBron 1, you take Durant 2, you take Curry 3, but then you take Irving, then you take Draymond, and then you take, he was like, basically it's a 1-for-1 thing. Like you take one Cav, and then you take one Warrior, then you take one Cav, and you take one Warrior. And it's really not that simple. It's really not that simple. Right? You wouldn't do that. And also, this is not a 1-to-1 exchange. These teams are not equal. These teams were equal last year. These teams are not equal now. Right? And I thought I was going to give the Warriors in 6. I might actually upgrade that to Warriors in 5. And I'm not knee-jerking off of the game, but a lot of things got confirmed for me last night that I had already believed, which is what is Cleveland going to do with Kevin Durant? And nobody addressed that, right? Kevin Durant came into this series, into the Warriors, into this series, replacing Harrison Barnes. He replaced Harrison Barnes, who Cleveland had so little respect for last year, they chose simply to not guard him. And you know what? It worked. Harrison Barnes was 5 of 32. So you realize that no matter what it is that Durant gave the Warriors last night, he wasn't going to give him no 5 of 32. He wasn't about to give him 5 of 32. Right? Not at all. And instead, he gave him something better than that, which is he exposed a lot of things. He exposed Kevin Love's lack of defense, which we knew already. He exposed the fact that LeBron's really not a great on-ball defender. Like, LeBron had trouble keeping up with Kevin Durant, and people keep talking about Kevin Durant like Kevin Durant is some kind of choker. He can't handle big moments. What example are you using for that narrative? That's a narrative that you made up. I mean, don't get mad when it backfires now. That's a narrative you made up. Who decided that Kevin Durant was this choker? When he couldn't win in 2012, his first ever finals appearance, that's when we decided he was a choker? The first time he ever went. Right? And James Harden was the one that choked, but Kevin Durant's the choker. Okay. They were up 3-1 to the Warriors last year, and they lost because their team's not better. Like, we all knew that Warriors team was better than Oklahoma City last year, right? But he's a choker for that? He played well that whole series. Played well that whole series. Who has come up with this idea that Kevin Durant cannot handle pressure? Because he doesn't always hit big shots? What, you thought he was deferring to Russell Westbrook? Didn't we learn anything this year? Russell Westbrook doesn't pass. You're not deferring to Westbrook. Westbrook is taking the shots. Nobody defers to Westbrook. Westbrook just keeps the ball. That's different. Kevin Durant, when was he a choker? People made up this narrative. They really liked the narrative that they made up. And you know what? They just kept rolling with it. And now Kevin Durant's back in his first NBA Finals in 5 years. Not about to let that opportunity go to waste at all. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Next.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
A four-vehicle collision and an explosion in Marion County has claimed the lives of two. Lieutenant John Harmon with the Tennessee Highway Patrol says it happened at 2:10 a.m. A commercial motor vehicle crossed over the median and smashed into another commercial vehicle, causing an explosion on 24 westbound. Tennessee Volunteer Fire Department Training Center was burglarized on Highway 58, but the items that were stolen were $30,000 worth of training equipment. The police say it's really only useful as training equipment. They're not sure what the burglar is going to do with it. Police say Hunter Hanks, an 18-year-old, is accused of breaking into 4 vehicles and stealing money and other items out of them on Grace Avenue at a gated community. Hanks was caught after a suspicious activity call was reported to the police at 911. They found Mr. Hanks and asked him to raise his hands out of his pockets. That's when they spotted a handgun on his hip. Cops say a search revealed multiple cell phones and multiple wallets. He was arrested. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair skies to continue through your nighttime. Mild again overnight, low 62 to 65. For Saturday, a summer-like day with some sunshine, mainly dry, highs into the upper 80s with a few widely scattered, mainly afternoon showers and storms returning for Sunday. Get ready for Riverbend, June 9th through the 17th, featuring discounted admission now at area Circle K locations, savings on tokens at Food City, with more information at riverbendfestival.com. And I'm Sourcing 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
The American dream. Home ownership. Are you building equity for your landlord? Why not build that equity for yourself and your family? Rent No More is a no obligation, no cost program. It's designed to teach you the steps necessary and to coach you all along the path to home ownership. Integrity Mortgage Group is owned and operated by local expert Jeff Woody Woodburn. Jeff has been in the mortgage business for over 15 years. Born and raised right here in the Chattanooga area. Jeff is also known as the Lone Ranger. He's helped countless hundreds. Really eager to help you too. So don't wait. Come on, call Danielle right now. You need to reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. A Nooga Radio is proud to partner with Integrity Mortgage Group to bring you Rent No More. Reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Stop building equity for your landlord. Live the American dream. Home ownership with Rent No More. We'll see you there.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
So here's something to consider. First off, there is a report that Chris Paul is strongly considering going to the San Antonio Spurs, whereupon Chris Paul would be joining LaMarcus Aldridge, who has been bad with the Spurs, right? Like if LaMarcus Aldridge scores 14 points on a night, like that's a good night for LaMarcus Aldridge. And when you consider that we once thought LaMarcus Aldridge a superstar, that's kind of crazy. That is kind of crazy. But he's going to be joining LaMarcus Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard if he were to go to the Spurs. And that would bring the Spurs, I think, sort of back up to a level of contention, and give the Western Conference that beloved parity that everybody wants, right? Like that parity that everybody's looking for, because there's a team that might be able to stand up and punch Golden State in the face. And had Kawhi Leonard not been injured, I believe San Antonio would have won at least 2 of those games in that series. Kawhi Leonard got injured, and that's why it got as ugly as it did. But the Spurs had sort of figured out how to slow down the Warriors in a way that Cleveland simply cannot, because they do not have the personnel defensively, right? Like the Spurs were hanging in there for some games, and it's just a matter of like, you can't really hold off these guys without some level of superstar talent. Once Kawhi went down, it was kind of over for San Antonio. Well, and that was on top of the Tony Parker, and then when you add on the David Lee injury afterwards, like there's just no chance. If you were to add Chris Paul to this mix, have Kawhi Leonard healthy in a series against the Warriors, I can't say for sure that the Warriors just outright win. And I think that that's where we're entering in the NBA, where players are just moving around a lot, right? You'd see this a lot in baseball. Players get into these teams that are constructed very, very well. You might have a breakout year. You might make a title run, maybe even win the title. And then you might move on to another team that'll pay you way too much money to try and get you to fit into what it is that they're doing, right? We saw it with the Nationals and Max Scherzer, and it's working out very well for the Nationals. It just has not resulted in any rings. But Max Scherzer has been nothing short of an absolute monster on the mound. It's fine in baseball. Like, we don't have problems with this in baseball. I feel like the number of players on a basketball court makes basketball feel particularly more personal. And so you do feel a little bit betrayed when you've just got players moving around the league. But Chris Paul moving to San Antonio, this only happens if Kevin Durant moves to Golden State. And let's not act like Kevin Durant made the NBA worse by going to Golden State. He did widen the gap between best team and second best team. He did. But other teams will catch up. Like this idea that somehow no one can catch up and no one's going to be able to fight. It's like other players in this league look around, they look at what's happening, and they go, we might have to join up a little bit too. we might have to join up a little bit too. And by the way, that would be closer to what it is that NBA teams used to look like. We had less teams in the league. Some of these cities, and I don't necessarily want to call anybody out, but like some of these cities do not need a team, right? But you have one. You have one because adding more cities means more revenue, means more money. The owners like money. So here we are, and you've got a lot of talent spread out across a lot of teams. And the teams that are able to cluster talent are going to be more successful more often than not. The thing that is interesting to me, and the thing that is something worth considering, is this, that we somehow have this idea in our minds that it has to be organic. The only way to cluster talent that will allow, that we're not mad at players, and we're not mad at owners, and we're not mad at Adam Silver. The only way that will allow talent to cluster is if you draft it. Because if you sign it in free agency, that's not what we want. Well, that's not what we want, sort of. We want it to be this place where at a certain level of talent, you can't move, right? You're Kevin Durant level talent, you can't move. And you certainly can't cluster with anybody good. We want you to just fight tooth and nail. If you are Kevin Durant and you want to go to a team, you could always go to Washington or Boston and let them try and build talent around you organically. So what? The same thing that was happening at Oklahoma City, where the owner is so cheap that the GM has to trade away good players? Because that's what happened at Oklahoma City, right? James Harden should never have been traded away from Oklahoma City. And if James Harden is never traded away from Oklahoma City, maybe the Thunder get a few more cracks at an NBA Finals. And if that happens, maybe they win one. And if maybe they win one, their Durant and Westbrook are probably still there, right? Like blaming this whole thing on Durant when it's like, wow, the Thunder owner is impossibly cheap. Dude is impossibly cheap. And that's how that whole thing got started. It's a series of cause and effect, right? Like, and it goes back further than you think. The idea that Kevin Durant was running away from Oklahoma City and running to get this free, easy ring, it wasn't going to be free and easy, but he wanted it to be fun, and he wanted it to be easier in terms of style of play, in terms of system, and running isolation basketball every single night with Russell Westbrook is not fun. Okay, you're winning a lot of basketball games, and you are working awful hard to get a certain level of points. Like it shouldn't be that hard. It should not be that hard, because you look at teams around the league, and they're not all working that hard. Some of them are, but that depends on the team. That depends on the culture of the locker room. That depends on the coach, right? Like Kevin Durant was also considering San Antonio. Would you have been fine with him going to the Spurs? Because a Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard combination defensively and then offensively would be filth. Would be absolute filth. Do you understand? Kevin Durant considered going to the Spurs. You know why? The system. He considered going to the Celtics. Do you know why? The system. The issue there with the Celtics is they ain't got no players, right? And like, if your problem was in Oklahoma City, you look around and it's just you and Russ. Like, why would you ever go to Boston so you can look around and it'll be you and Isaiah? How does that make things better? You mean a less athletic, smaller version of Russ? Why would he look at that and go, that's better? I'm telling you, when you look at it on paper, like the only option was Golden State. Because he could have gone to San Antonio, and y'all would have come up with a reason to not like that too. That's the thing. You would have found a way to not enjoy that. Look at him teaming up, forming a super team, because that's what that would be. You would have Kawhi Leonard at the 3, Kevin Durant at the 4. Kawhi Leonard would be the best defender in the league. Kevin Durant would be the next best defender in the league. And then who knows? LaMarcus Aldridge might actually play good basketball, because who it is that you focus on. I mean, that dude would have so many open jumpers, it would be absurd. It would be absurd. It's kind of crazy. You would have had a super team regardless of wherever that guy went in the Western Conference. So if you have a problem that it's just Golden State that he went to because that's the team that beat him, whatever, man. If I'm working at a company, right? If I'm working at a store and then my store goes out of business because Amazon comes to town and I go working for Amazon, you don't hold that against me. Why? Because they may treat their employees horribly, but they pay more and they're employing people locally. Like you don't hold it against the person for going to a company that pushes theirs out of the market. Why is it that you would hold it against somebody that's literally the same thing? That is the same thing. The Warriors came and pushed the Thunder out of the market. Kevin Durant looked around and said, hey, the way that they do things is better. Right? Like, it's more fun, it's more free, and it's not just easier because there are other stars. It's easier because their system is easier. I just don't need to dribble the ball for 20 seconds in a half-court setting. Don't need to do it. And you saw it last night. Like, the poor Cavaliers didn't know who to guard. So afraid of Clay and Steph at the three-point line, they just let Kevin Durant get dunks. They just let him get dunks. I mean, what was that defensively? That couldn't have been the game plan. If you're Ty Lue coming into this, that could not possibly have been the game plan. I was so disappointed watching Cleveland play defense last night. Leave Kevin Durant alone to march down the middle of the paint to dunk. That could not possibly have been the game plan. I don't understand what was happening there. What on earth was Kyrie Irving doing? Buddy was out there spinning like a top. I don't know what Kyrie was doing. I don't know what Kevin Love was doing, but let's face the facts here. Cleveland was constructed to beat the Golden State Warriors as the Golden State Warriors were constructed last year. They did not update. There was no update. Nope. Didn't happen. And they're bad defensively. I had someone telling me on Twitter, by the way. That there's no way that Tristan Thompson and Darren Williams and Kyle Korver combine for 3 points again. And to which I ask, why are you so sure about that? Like, you realize that Korver and Williams, the reason why they didn't score any points is because you can't play them. You can't play Williams and Korver, defensively speaking. Like, you just can't play them. They will get ripped to shreds in this series. Like, there's not anybody that Kyle Korver can guard at this point in his career. Kyle Korver was never a defensive guy. Like, that was a guy that you always hit on defense anyway. But at this stage in his career, there's nobody that Kyle Korver can guard. And Darren Williams, it's worse. Like, Darren Williams has probably been the guy with the biggest fall off of anybody. Darren Williams was a former number 3 overall pick in the NBA draft. And Darren Williams cannot guard a soul anymore. And he's all right on offense. Like, remember when Darren Williams was one of the best players in the league? Seriously, remember when Darren Williams there was a legitimate debate. Who's the best point guard in the NBA? Chris Paul or Darren Williams? Because I remember having that conversation, and I was team Chris Paul, but it was close. I was very impressed by Darren Williams on a nightly basis. And now look at Darren Williams. Darren Williams is in an NBA Finals on a team where he is the sort of veteran bench help that can't play any defense, so you can't really play him offensively because he doesn't give you enough offensively to offset his awful, awful defense. Right? Like, Darren Williams never got back to all-star levels, even though Darren Williams has been an all-star before. Right. And Cleveland has a bunch of guys like that, right? Korver was once an all-star. Williams was once an all-star. Darren, not Derek. When you add those guys on top of LeBron and Kevin Love and Kyrie. Now, granted, right? We have legitimate conversations about superstardom in this series. Because if you ask me, LeBron James, obviously a superstar. The superstar of the NBA, in fact. Kevin Durant, superstar. Steph Curry, superstar. Klay Thompson, all-star. Draymond Green, all-star. You could have the legitimate discussion about Kyrie Irving being a superstar. He at least has superstar level offense. Kyrie Irving has superstar level scoring. Not so much defensively, but that's fine because Magic Johnson had superstar level everything offensively and not superstar level defense. Like, you had to hide Magic. So it's not a, you can be a superstar and not be great at defense. Like, you can legitimately think of Kyrie Irving as a superstar if you really want to. You cannot think of Kevin Love in any way as a superstar. But there was a point at which we thought that Kevin Love was a superstar. And we were holding Kevin Love in this conversation going, wow, Kevin Love could legitimately leave Cleveland and go off and do his own thing. No, he can't. I feel like Kevin Love's time in Cleveland has exposed him as a player. Like, Kevin Love was never going to be superstar status. He was a good player on a bad team. And we sort of did this weird transference with Kevin Durant where the assumption was, oh, Kevin Durant's joining the Warriors. He's like the new Kevin Love in this series. Right? Kevin Love proved that he doesn't really have what it takes to take over a game. Right? When you really need it, LeBron can take over a game. Kyrie can take over a game. Kevin Love cannot take over a game, which is what I demand of superstars, right? Steph can take over a game. Kevin Durant's not Kevin Love. Kevin Durant can take over games. We know this. We've seen it. How many times have we seen it? Like, there's this sort of false equivalency. Like, we just compared Kevin Durant in this series as just another guy that they added. How is this an even matchup? And I'm sorry. I have eyes. There's no way that I looked at this and thought, yeah, Cleveland's got a shot. Cleveland does not have a chance to win this series. Okay, it's just a matter of, is it 5 or 6 games? Maybe 7. But they're not winning the series. They are inferior in about every way that's not LeBron James. Right? Like, LeBron James, in order to give Cleveland a chance, is going to have to go for 40 a night. I think he's going to have to go for 40. If LeBron goes for 40, Cleveland can win. But LeBron can't go for 40 a night. I mean, now you're just asking the impossible from LeBron. And while LeBron has delivered a lot of unbelievable things in his career, LeBron is not a miracle worker. He's a great basketball player, the greatest currently, maybe the greatest all time. But LeBron James cannot deliver this team from the Warriors. It's not happening. It's not possible. Like, the way that Durant is defending LeBron, he's defending him incredibly well. And LeBron still went for 28 last night. It's not like LeBron played bad, okay? Like, Kevin Durant played incredible defense to LeBron and held him to 28 on efficient shooting for LeBron, right? It's not like he went out there and just dominated him. He slowed him down enough to where LeBron wasn't getting 40 points. LeBron's not going to score 40 points on Kevin Durant. It's not going to happen. Right? I mean, like, Kevin Durant is more in his prime now than LeBron is, which is funny because the first time that they met in the NBA Finals, Kevin Durant was just getting into his prime. LeBron was near peak LeBron, right? Like, we were just about to see LeBron get to the top of the peak that season. So, of course, he beats Kevin Durant in the NBA Finals. But this is a different matchup between those two guys because now we're looking at LeBron, and LeBron's still in his prime, but he's on the other side of that peak. And Kevin Durant, Kevin's at the peak. He's at the peak. To me, how was this not obvious from the beginning? Right? And I understand that there's a level of, well, okay, don't panic. Don't declare the Cavs dead. They were blown out last year in game 1 and blown out last year in game 2. But this is different. this is different because it's not like last year where we looked at it and went, well, does Cleveland have any answers for Golden State? And then Golden State lost a couple of key players. It's, does Cleveland have an answer for Kevin Durant? And I'm telling you right now, they don't. Now, if Cleveland wants to go ahead and try to do the old others defense, let Andre Iguodala score, right? Let somebody else beat you. Don't get beaten by Curry and Thompson and Durant. If that's the defense that they want to mount, they can try to, but 3 guys is really hard to do that with, right? Like it's pretty easy to go, okay, here's 2 guys. We can key in on you 2 and say the other 3 can't beat us. But when you have 3 guys, there is some level of switching and rotating that's always going to lead to some kind of mismatch. And if that happens, well, it's kind of a wrap, okay? It's kind of a wrap. There's not a real answer for Kevin Durant here. Kevin Durant is the best scorer in basketball. Okay? He's the best scorer in basketball. He's got an incredibly high basketball IQ. He is incredibly quick. He's a giant, tall person. And the Cavs have not encountered this in an NBA Finals. It's kind of absurd, right? And people thought that Kevin Durant was just going to show up and try and ride coattails to a title. That's not how this is working. This is Kevin Durant's team now. Kevin Durant showed up, and now it's his team. And it's cool that Curry and Thompson and all those other guys let him have it, but this is Kevin Durant's team, and he is planning to do an awful lot of destruction with it. Clutch with Keon Rose at AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Competent, kind, caring, knowledgeable, experienced, great listener, great negotiator, in touch, accessible. If these are the characteristics you want and need in a realtor, you want and need Thomas DeMoss of Keller Williams Realty. Thomas is a very gifted realtor who puts the client's needs first. Whether you're buying or selling a home, Thomas is the realtor of choice. Thomas will help and guide you through each step of this very important process. For many of us, the purchase of a home is one of our largest investments and most important family and financial decision. Let Thomas use his 10 years of experience in the Chattanooga real estate market to give you the advantage you need when buying or selling a home. Buying a house? Thomas can help you navigate the emotional and somewhat anxious process of buying a home. For those of you who want to sell a house, Thomas uses his marketing and negotiating experience to help you sell your home for top dollar. Thomas is a local resident raising his family here in Hamilton County. He knows the area very well. For many agents, real estate is a job. With Thomas DeMoss, it's a passion and what he loves to do. Call Thomas today for a no-obligation consultation. He makes the process as simple as possible. Call 423-364-0028 and visit his website, northriverpropertygroup.com.
Picture that curl of steam rising from your fresh-made pizza. And in a flash, let it take you aloft, teasing all your senses. I'm talking about Jet's Pizza. If you eat out at Jet's in Hickson or take home your steaming deep dish square pizza, you'll love Jet's. They use only the best ingredients in a family recipe. Also try the cheesy bread, wings, chicken, or bread with bacon, antipasta or Greek salad. Jet's Pizza at Buy Low near the S-Curves. Open till 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. You can order online or have it delivered. jetspizza.com. That's jetspizza.com. Or call them now. They'll have it ready when you get there. 757-1616. That's 757-1616.
Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Final expenses, funeral cost, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate cost, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484. Are you looking for a gospel-oriented, covenantal, family-friendly Reformed church? Dayton Reformed Presbyterian Church is a body of Christ-centered believers gathering for worship on the Lord's Day from around southeastern Tennessee. Our congregation is reformational in its outlook. It has a traditional worship service regulated by the Word of God. Prayer, singing the Psalms, reading God's holy Word, teaching, preaching the Bible, the administration of the sacrament. Dayton Reformed Pres, committed to the authority of the Bible as the inerrant, infallible Word of God. As Westminster Confession of Faith directs every Christian, we aim to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. As a Reformed church, our purpose is teaching and preaching the gospel, making and training disciples of Jesus Christ, taking dominion for our Lord's sake by applying God's holy and perfect law to every area of life. We would be honored to have you join us for worship. Dayton Reformed Presbyterian. This Sunday morning at 11 at Dayton Community Chapel, 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton. Click DaytonRPC.org. Click DaytonRPC.org. 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back, the field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chops him off, coming off turn number 2, nose to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR.
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga,
WSDT Saudi Daisy Chattanooga.
Pull out of the Paris Climate Change Agreement. The EPA chief says you got a problem with that.
We have nothing to be apologetic about as a country.
Nothing funny about Kathy Griffin these days.
I don't think I will have a career after this.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. The EPA is cutting back staff, but its top man was out front today. White House correspondent Stephen Portnoy with the latest administration comment on the climate change deal pullout.
EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt defends the president's decision, saying the U.S. has already been reducing its carbon output.
And that's been largely accomplished through innovation and technology, not government mandate.
But the decision to withdraw from the Paris Accord has sparked worldwide condemnation and a vow here at home to continue working in the spirit of the deal.
That agreement, we will exceed that in cities.
Elizabeth Counts leads the city of Burnsville, Minnesota, outside Minneapolis, and she's a Republican.
We don't need Washington to tell us what to do. We will do what is right.
A number of states say they're forming their own alliance, vowing to implement policies to reduce emissions and stay in line with the Paris Agreement.
The U.S. Conference of Mayors has responded to the pullout. Here's CBS's Bill Rakoff.
New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu is one of many U.S. mayors protesting the decision to leave the Paris Agreement.
It's our collective opinion that withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord was short-sighted.
Landrieu and others are vowing to continue to lead on the issue. This is Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton.
We're going to symbolically sign on to the Paris Accord on behalf of Americans all across the United States and substantively take the actions necessary to ensure that America meets its obligations under the Paris Accord.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson today said this country country will likely continue to reduce emissions even without being in the global climate deal. Earlier, Tillerson had tried to convince the president to stay in it. Protests today in Berlin, where Greenpeace activists projected President Trump's image onto the side of the U.S. Embassy. And along with words reading, #total loser, so sad. Today in St. Petersburg, Russia, Vladimir Putin channeled singer Bobby McFerrin when responding to the climate change controversy.
Don't worry, be happy.
She is all over social media, Kathy Griffin, after that image showed her with a severed head of Donald Trump, and she spoke out today.
I've had everybody turn on me, and I just want to make people laugh. That's all I want to do. So I screwed up.
And since then,
the death threats that I'm getting are constant, and they are detailed, and they are serious, and they are specific.
138,000 jobs created in May. The Dow closed at another record high, 21,206, gaining 62. Records high for the NASDAQ, which rose 58, and for the S&P, which gained 9. Analyst Art Hogan, why have the markets been hopping?
The consumer staples, the utilities, the telecoms, all those dividend payers have had a very strong 2-week performance today again.
Now this.
2 little tablets can make your thin hair feel and look thicker and fuller, guaranteed, or your money back. Viviscal is the #1 drug-free hair growth supplement in the U.S., with 1 box being sold every minute globally. It's clinically researched to promote existing hair growth for men and women, and now a 90-day supply of Viviscal is offered in your area with free shipping. Call 800-350-6342. Viviscal nourishes thinning hair from within. You'll love your hair growth results, guaranteed, or your money back. Just pay return shipping and handling. Viviscal is so effective, it's recommended by doctors. Here's Dr. John Laura.
As a dermatologist, I feel confident recommending Viviscal. It's backed by 25 years of research and multiple clinical studies that demonstrated Viviscal's effectiveness in promoting the growth of thicker, fuller hair.
Want to try Viviscal? Every listener that calls now gets a 90-day supply with free shipping. 800-350-6342. 800-350-6342. That's 800-350-6342.
Former Penn State University President Graham Spanier, former athletic director Tim Curley, and former school VP Gary Schultz faced a judge today in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, following the sexual molestation case of one-time assistant football coach Jerry Sandusky. Those men were found to have responded slowly. All 3 will do at least 2 months behind bars, followed by home confinement. CBS's Jerika Duncan.
They don't want to do any jail time. It's very rare, I think, in these cases that we do see these people with such high-profile positions actually having to serve time behind bars. But that is what the judge sentenced them to today.
Following the hazing death of Penn State freshman Timothy Piazza, that school will now take control of its fraternities and sororities. Back in February, at a fraternity party, excessive drinking led to the 19-year-old falling down a flight of stairs. Little effort was made to assist him. Piazza died hours later from head injuries. You're listening to the CBS World News.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
A 4-vehicle collision and an explosion in Marion County has claimed the lives of 2. Lieutenant John Harmon with the Tennessee Highway Patrol says it happened at 2:10 a.m. A commercial motor vehicle crossed over the median and smashed into another commercial vehicle, causing an explosion on 24 westbound. Tennessee Volunteer Fire Department Training Center was burglarized on Highway 58, but the items that were stolen were $30,000 worth of training equipment. The police say it's really only useful as training equipment. They're not sure what the burglar is going to do with it. Police say Hunter Hanks, an 18-year-old, is accused of breaking into 4 vehicles and stealing money and other items out of them on Grace Avenue at a gated community. Hanks was caught after a suspicious activity call was reported to the police at 911. They found Mr. Hanks and asked him to raise his hands out of his pockets. That's when they spotted a handgun on his hip. Cops say a search revealed multiple cell phones and multiple wallets. He was arrested. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair skies to continue through your nighttime. Mild again overnight, low 62 to 65. For Saturday, a summer-like day with some sunshine, mainly dry, highs into the upper 80s with a few widely scattered, mainly afternoon showers and storms returning for Sunday. Get ready for Riverbend, June 9th through the 17th, featuring discounted admission now at area Circle K locations, savings on tokens at Food City, with more information at riverbendfestival.com. And I'm Sourcing 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
People have been surprised. People have been surprised by how well Kevin Durant fits on this team. Probably the person who seems more surprised than anybody else is LeBron James. And that, to me, is the craziest part. Because I feel like LeBron James is a smart guy. And whether someone's got high basketball IQ and low basketball IQ tends to be a cliche that we kind of toss around to just vaguely describe a person who looks like they know what they're doing on a basketball court. When I say you have a high basketball IQ, you're not a dummy out there, right? Like, you know when to pass, you know when to drive, you know when to screen, you know all those things, right? And if you don't have a high basketball IQ, you don't, right? So when you talk about a person with a high basketball IQ, LeBron is somebody that I feel like ought to know simply by looking and looking at any number of the games that the Warriors have played this season. And if LeBron hadn't been paying attention to them this season, that would be awfully foolish, because that's the team that you would obviously most likely be facing in the NBA Finals. The team most likely to play against you in the NBA Finals, you got to pay attention to them. And if you had been paying attention to them, you'd notice that Kevin Durant sort of showed up to the Warriors and fit like a glove. Like, this whole super team thing, which, by the way, in European soccer, they simply call teams. It's not really a super team situation. Usually you sign the best players if you can, and they go to the teams that are good. Nobody holds it against Lionel Messi that he plays with Neymar, but never mind that, right? So you have Kevin Durant showing up and playing incredibly well, and it just looked to me as though Cleveland were entirely unprepared for Golden State and how good Golden State was. Look, I picked Golden State to win the title every year for the last 3 years. Okay, I picked them in the first year that they ended up winning. Yeah, that was more of a struggle than it probably should have been, because the whole Matthew Dellavedova situation, where Dellavedova was somehow guarding Steph Curry and locking him in place. And then the next year, I mean, they're up 3-1, and at any point really could have taken off with that, but no, they didn't. But at any point, the Warriors could have closed that out and simply did not do a good enough job closing that out. But I don't feel like I was wrong picking them there either, right? Like, they ended up losing the series, but the way that they lost the series, I felt like if this happens again, I'm just going to pick the Warriors again. And then they added Kevin Durant, and this happened again. And it was like, oh, no, this is not even a choice for me now. Like, this is not even something that I have to think about. There's no way that a series is as close last year as it was. You add Kevin Durant to one side of this, and it doesn't immediately become unfair. And yet people were talking about this like it was somehow fair. Like, no, we just expected LeBron James to will the Cavaliers into victory of this. And look, I suppose that says an awful lot about how highly we think of LeBron, that we thought that he could do that. Like, we really thought very, very highly of LeBron, that we legitimately thought that he could do that, which is amazing. Amazing, because I never thought that we'd reach the day where we were legitimately giving LeBron James the credit that he deserved for how well that he plays. But if you legitimately thought that LeBron James could will this team past the Warriors, you are just incorrect about basketball. And I think I should know. I watch a lot. There's no way you watched a team be the number one offensive and defensive team this regular season. Number one defensive rating Warriors, number one offensive rating Warriors. There's no way you watched that and thought anybody really stands a chance to beat them. And if you thought it was going to be Golden State in 7 or Cleveland in 7, even that is making this way too close. And you are just simply diminishing the impact of Kevin Durant. And here's a crazy stat from the NBA Finals that shows you how absurdly well Durant and Curry played last night. If you do not count the baskets made by Curry, then what you end up having, and we've got a caller here. Yes, it is the person I've been expecting. It is my brother calling into the show here. He is a writer, Kerwin Rose, and a basketball fan with a knack for noticing and coming up with great insights in basketball. How you doing today, Kerwin?
I'm good. I feel a little late to the show, but
a little bit. But you finally made it. I thought I was going to have to do this by myself.
Just power through the segment. No, I wouldn't leave you that high and dry. I'll leave you a little bit high and dry.
Yeah, just a little bit, enough to scare me. But we got through it.
Okay. Well, let's dive in. What have we covered so far?
Well, I've more or less just covered how it really should have been obvious, right? Like, this is what I was just saying. Like, it should have been obvious, right? Adding Kevin Durant to the Warriors makes the Warriors way better than the Cavs.
I know, and it feels. Listen, I've read a lot of articles that make this seem a lot closer, and they cite things like it's hard to hide Curry against Kyrie and LeBron's pick and roll, and it's really difficult to find places to play Zaza Pachulia and JaVale McGee, and what you end up is you shorten that rotation enough, and then you just grind them down. You play that grinding, terrible, horrifying to watch style the Cavs play when they play the Warriors, in which they only run pick and roll, and LeBron holds the ball for 18 seconds on the shot clock, and they just do it over and over again until they get the matchup they want, then they shoot. But what happened last night is, and this is the beautiful part, in that third quarter, I don't know if you remember this moment, it was like a 20-point lead. LeBron came down, started to do that very thing that we talked about, cut it to 12, and then they threw the ball to Kevin Durant, did one pick and roll, got Kevin Durant on Richard Jefferson. Kevin Durant crossed behind his back, set Richard Jefferson 8 feet away to the banishment circle of retirement, I imagine, and then drained a jumper. And that's the thing that they have now. But what they have is a guy on the court at almost all times between Curry and Durant who can get their shot when the game slows down and you have to do this thing that you have to do in the playoffs, which is get tough baskets one-on-one for stretches where you usually go scoreless. And they just don't. The Warriors with Kevin Durant are a scary thing because they can play that ugly Kobe style of basketball and they can win.
Right. And here's the thing that I think that people absolutely forget. Nobody has more practice at absolutely horrible, inefficient ISO basketball than Kevin Durant. That's all he did in Oklahoma City.
I would interject. Kyrie has more practice.
This is true. That's self-inflicted practice.
Kyrie's been doing this since he was 2.
But I'm saying in terms of being in the NBA, when you're playing with Russell Westbrook, there's just a lot of Russell can't figure out what to do with the ball. He gives it to you. Now you've got to figure out what to do with it. That's not a play. That's not a screen. Like, you just have to figure it out.
And it's usually the most unfair version of it where Russell dribbles for like 16 seconds and then throws the ball with 8 seconds and says, go get a shot. And you know what? Kevin Durant still went 50, 40, 90 that last season in OKC. So you can't really be like, well, I mean, with that 8 seconds and the defense hedging his way, knowing that he's going to put the ball on the ground, he's still got buckets. It's almost impossible to defend that then.
I mean, he's been doing this on hard mode for so long. It's like when you play Madden on All Pro, and then you turn the settings back down. Isn't it a little bit more fun?
It is, and it was so weird to watch. What I noticed most was that Kevin Durant, outside of when LeBron and maybe you can argue when Amon Shumpert is on him, he really has a mismatch against every single other Cav on the floor. They run a pick and roll with any other Warrior player, and Kevin Durant gets Love on him. He's going to shoot or go by Love. He gets Thompson on him. He shot over Tristan Thompson like Tristan Thompson wasn't his same size and wasn't inside of his jersey when he did it. And Kevin Durant was like, I'm 6'11", and my arms are longer. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right, and then he does that. He does that Dirk Nowitzki sort of lean back.
Beautiful and a little bit disturbing.
Yes, that is the way to describe sort of everything from last night. And I was watching the post-game pressers, and LeBron, when the reporter asked him like what stood out, he said KD, and it just sort of felt like LeBron seemed
so
surprised.
It was so quick. It was like KD. It was like Kevin Durant is on his mind from the second he walked out of that stadium and was sadly giving his teammates high fives as they streamed past him, about to give up. And he knew the biggest problem that they've got now is like, what are we going to do with Kevin Durant on offense?
Right. I mean, because it's easy to remember, because this is where, if you're a Cavs fan, I suppose your only solace and your only hope that's left, if you're a Cavs or a LeBron fan in this, is the sort of, you got blown out in game 1 last year too, and game 2, if I recall correctly. So there is a sort of idea that like we're not out of this, but this has to feel different.
It does feel a little different. And here's the thing: they say that they always say LeBron has like lost I don't know how many game ones in the finals. Set that aside. My point to everybody would be: did it ever feel like last year? It felt like the Warriors were like rambunctious, but the Warriors were surging. They were hitting every single stride. Klay Thompson shot like 3 for 13. He was terrible on offense. They got almost nothing from him. Draymond hit his first bucket midway through the second, had 2 fouls almost immediately in the first quarter, and the Warriors were still just sort of ahead of them. Like, yes, their 2 superstars were clicking. I get that. But, like, everybody else had a sort of so-so game. Andre Iguodala missed everything. Everything. Like, the problem is there's going to be a game in which Klay Thompson also just hits 50% of his shots and goes 35% from 3. And you lose. You lose because you can't guard them. Because he's going to be open for, like, the entire game because you have to head your entire offense to whatever side of the floor Kevin Durant or Curry has the ball.
You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio. And joining us on the phone is my brother, Kerwin Rose, who is a writer and basketball. He's an insightful basketball person. I don't want to say savant because that's something somehow sounds very condescending.
You can go aficionado.
I can go aficionado. You know what? That is true.
Don't make me sound like Stephen A. As long as you don't start to add too many verbs or whatever, and then I suddenly sound like Stephen A. having added 9 titles to introduce me as. And there's that very attractive girl introducing First Take says, "This is Max Kellerman," and there's Stephen A. and soliloquies him for like 9 minutes, and Stephen A. starts shouting. It's basically First Take.
more or less. So I think one of those things that gets lost in the shovel is how well Steph played last night. But here's a crazy stat for you about how well KD and Steph played. If you take away KD and Steph, the rest of the Warriors shot a combined 35% from the field. They won by 23.
That's crazy. It just, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard when like the generational shooter that Steph Curry is just he's clicking right now, and also he's healthy, and this is the thing that no one wasn't last year. What we got is 2 fully healthy teams, and plus Kevin Durant, and it's just destruction. It's still good basketball. I love to watch greatness, as Adam Silver described when he was like people asked him why people should enjoy the NBA playoffs this year. He was like, people like to watch greatness. I want to see good teams be great. I mean, I want to also see competition. I'm not going to lie to you. And I don't think we're getting that. I haven't officially announced on the radio my pick. I so badly want to say Warriors in 4. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Last night I said Warriors in 6 because I felt like I had to be respectful to LeBron James and say, you know what? If you have a bad Warriors game or 2, LeBron wills them to 2. Like I just can't. I can't be that disrespectful to LeBron at this point.
I want to listen. I understand that, and I understand that the Cavs turned the ball over 20 some odd times, and LeBron
it was a 20-4 turnover ratio,
and they just looked sort of out of sorts. But the thing is, we've underrated we perpetually, every time we talk about the Warriors, always sing their praises as offense, and suddenly we forget that their defense is great. It's a great defense. And now they don't have Harrison Barnes, who's a liability both his interior presence when he's trying to deny things like a Kyrie drive or LeBron steamrolling to the basket, and also misses every shot and is a small child quaking in his boots, his father's boots that he borrowed and thought that he could fill them and then clearly couldn't and is overmatched. And what you replace him with is like the second best player in the NBA, who is now maybe in the top 5 of two-way players. I don't know what to tell you. This is what happens. I'm saying Warriors in 5 only out of respect because I think LeBron is going to win one in Cleveland. The series may be already over at that point. It might be 3-0, and he's like, I'm not going to let the Warriors go 16-0, and that'll be the story of this series. It's like, can the Warriors go 16-0? That's personally, I don't want to do this. I hate overreacting to one single game, but oh boy.
Yeah, and I suppose because I felt like the Warriors were going to win this series all along that I don't feel like I am overreacting. But here's the thing with Cleveland, right? Because you talked about how we overrate or we underrate rather the defense of Golden State. I think we also overrate the defense of Cleveland. They were bad last night. Kyrie was spinning like a top, and LeBron looked bad. Oh yeah, no, Kyrie looked lost.
It was so bad, dude. I also want to point out that they've been bad the whole playoffs. Boston, if they had any shooters at all, could have pushed Cleveland a little bit. If they hit any of the 1,000 open threes they had in that series, then it would have been some real competition. There were so many open shots. They can lock in for 2 to 3 possessions, but it's not like that Miami Heat team that LeBron was on, like where they would for 5 minutes you would not score. That's how athletic and how coordinated they looked when they really locked in. This Cavs team locks in, and what you get is mixed results. And what you get is a lot of people in earnest trying. Like when I saw, Kyrie and J.R. Smith both run to Curry, and then Kevin Durant glides down the lane for this enormous dunk. And what you get is they're not the same caliber of defenders, and they're just not as organized, and they don't have Draymond Green.
Right. Okay. So here's the thing too, because if you look at the Cavs as a reasonable comparison to those Miami Heat teams that LeBron was on, LeBron gets to still be LeBron. Kyrie gets to be Dwayne Wade, who is a fantastic defender when locked in, and Chris Bosh was always a great defender, and so that's who Kevin Love is sort of filling in the role for. Well, Kyrie and Kevin Love have been known horrible defenders. Like there's no way that we thought that this was a good enough defensive unit to really slow down the Warriors. Like you really are hoping that the Warriors are shooting jump shots and missing.
That was what I found the most interesting was that they really I never really thought about it. I knew there would be open threes and there'd be open mid-range jumpers. There was no rim protection. Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, both on the floor. Curry would go down the lane, and I would see people look at Curry as he's having just crossed up Kevin Love and about to flick up on a layup with his left hand, and no contest, no blocking, nothing, no hand straight up. And then you go to the other end, and what you get is Kevin Durant, always rotating over. You got Draymond Green, maybe the single best instinctual defender I've ever seen. 6'5", decent length on his arms, but just always in the right spot, and always just kind of has a kind of natural sense for figuring out where the ball is going to be at the last moment. And just, you made a lot of really good, decent players look average defensively, and that's it's beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to watch the Warriors play basketball. It is also a little sad that these playoffs may go out on the whimper. I don't want to overreact, but that's my current feeling.
Yeah, I hear you, because here's the thing too. I'm looking at it, and I'm going, the way that the Cavs are playing defense is semi unacceptable. Steph Curry, like you said, was just going down the middle of the paint, and it's like, why don't you get a body on that guy? At least, I'm not saying be dirty, but at least make him think about going down the paint. There was that moment
in Game 1, even though the Cavs got blown out last year, where LeBron spiked the ball and stared Curry down, and then suddenly things didn't really shift because obviously they lost Game 2 by an enormous margin. But they went back to Cleveland, and Curry was a little bit, they started banging Curry, and then you had that moment when Curry threw the mouthpiece in Game 6. You just have to sort of bump it. You really do. You cannot allow him to go down the lane free. You have to hit him. I'm sorry. I don't want to be the person to call out dirty play. I prefer the finesse game. But if you're going to beat the Warriors, it will not be playing anything like this. If you play anything like this, you need to go with the Popovich theory, which is go big and go mean. And if you can't do those things, you're going to lose this, and you're going to lose badly, because playing pretty will not get you there.
No, you can't out-finesse possibly the greatest finesse team that we've ever seen in the history of the sport. We're coming up to the end of the segment here. Would you like to stick around for another, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to continue with the NBA Finals talk. And then also there's some free agency stuff that I want to lob at you. There's a source that's saying Chris Paul is seriously considering the Spurs. So
he's old and he needs a ring. So.
Exactly. So I'm going to run that past you, and then we might get into some draft talk again as well. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. We're going to be talking a little bit more NBA hoops next.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
A 4-vehicle collision and an explosion in Marion County has claimed the lives of 2. Lieutenant John Harmon with the Tennessee Highway Patrol says it happened at 2:10 a.m. A commercial motor vehicle crossed over the median and smashed into another commercial vehicle, causing an explosion on 24 westbound. Tennessee Volunteer Fire Department Training Center was burglarized on Highway 58, but the items that were stolen were $30,000 worth of training equipment. The police say it's really only useful as training equipment. They're not sure what the burglar is going to do with it. Police say Hunter Hanks, an 18-year-old, is accused of breaking into 4 vehicles and stealing money and other items out of them on Grace Avenue at a gated community. Hanks was caught after a suspicious activity call was reported to the police at 911. They found Mr. Hanks and asked him to raise his hands out of his pockets. That's when they spotted a handgun on his hip. Cops say a search revealed multiple cell phones and multiple wallets. He was arrested. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair skies to continue through your nighttime. Mild again overnight, low 62 to 65. For Saturday, a summer-like day with some sunshine, mainly dry, highs into the upper 80s with a few widely scattered, mainly afternoon showers and storms returning for Sunday. Get ready for Riverbend, June 9th through the 17th, featuring discounted admission now at area Circle K locations, savings on tokens at Food City, with more information at riverbendfestival.com. And I'm Sourcing 12's Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation, and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
The American dream. Home ownership. Are you building equity for your landlord? Why not build that equity for yourself and your family? Rent No More is a no obligation, no cost program. It's designed to teach you the steps necessary and to coach you all along the path to home ownership. Integrity Mortgage Group is owned and operated by local expert Jeff Woody Woodburn. Jeff has been in the mortgage business for over 15 years. Born and raised right here in the Chattanooga area. Jeff is also known as the Lone Ranger. He's helped countless hundreds. Really eager to help you too. So don't wait. Come on, call Danielle right now. You need to reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Hey, Nooga Radio is proud to partner with Integrity Mortgage Group to bring you Rent No More. Reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Stop building equity for your landlord. Live the American dream. Home ownership with Rent No More. We'll see you there.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. And my brother is joining me, basketball aficionado. He's also a writer. And so I'm picking his brain about what he's seen in these NBA finals. And yeah, like it's been sort of the story of it, which is Kevin Durant is the game changer. But Steph Curry stepped up in a big way, scored 28 points, had 10 assists, and I believe 8 rebounds also, which was alarming.
Oh, yeah. He was contesting rebounds. I love that. I love that the guards were diving. They did not get out-rebounded. They did not get outscored in the paint. All the things the Cavs have to do to win this series, they did not do. I'm trying to think of the blueprint for the Cavs to win. And honestly, it's shorten your rotation to 7. And don't take LeBron off of Kevin Durant. You don't switch that play at all. You give up some kind of unfortunate spacing issues, and the Warriors will spread you out and they'll hurt you. But you cannot afford to have Kevin Durant do that to you again. Like, you really can't have it. He'll still score 25 and he'll still be hyper efficient. But if he drops 38 every game in a series, they'll win every game in this series because he's just going to be that level of a vacuum player in terms of people hedging when he goes by and all this kind of stuff. It will just be too much. It'll be in your mind, and it'll be in your game planning and in your locker. And so the thing the Cavs have to do, shorten the rotation to 7. Don't play anybody who cannot be effective on the court. And so that means no Richard Jefferson. If Iman Shumpert enters the game one more time, I will throw up because, oh my goodness, is he not good at basketball? At least not now in this series. It's going to be tough for them. It's an uphill road. And I just don't see, unless they get up on the Warriors early in like one of these home games, how are they going to win? You tell me, Keon.
My only thought is really, really overcommit to Curry, Thompson, and Durant and say, hey, maybe Andre Iguodala is the guy that beats us, but we're going to make him be the guy that beats us. Because the fact of the matter is, even though Klay has been playing like booty this entire NBA playoffs, you still have to respect his gravity on the floor. And that's the reason why Kevin Durant had so many of those wide open dunks was like, you still have to admit that if Klay Thompson's open, he'll probably knock down a three. So like without trying to overcommit on those two guys.
I kind of like that plan, but here's the thing. What you just walked in is the beauty of the Warriors, okay? What you have is 3 of the 10 best shooters you may have ever seen on one team, okay? And so that means you can try to step all the way out and always guard them, but the issue becomes that means you're guarding from 27 feet sideline to sideline, and that is nearly impossible. And specifically with the Cavs personnel, it goes from impossible to peeking over the edge of the volcano thinking I can outrun it if it erupts, because you're just not going to. If it erupts and you're 2 inches from there, you get swallowed, okay? If Kevin Durant crosses over, dribbles to his right, gets a pick from Curry, and suddenly Kyrie is on him, it's over. The play is over. It's 2 or 3 points, and that's just walk down to the other end if you're the Cavs. That's what I advise you. Start walking. Once Kyrie switches on to Kevin, that's automatic points, as Alex Trebek would say.
That there is a great analysis, and again, that's my desperate attempt at a solution here, because certainly if you decide, all right, we're going to let Iguodala be the guy that beats us on this, right? Iguodala and McGee or something, or Pachulia. What ends up happening there is that you can't then shorten your rotation, which means that you've got all these other dudes on your team that you now have to play on the floor that can also not play defense, right? Like this is a Cleveland Cavaliers team that is constructed of a bunch of guys that are singularly bad at defense. And stop me when I have just not named somebody. Kyrie is bad at defense. Kevin Love is bad at defense. Richard Jefferson is old and therefore bad at defense. Kyle Korver, bad at defense. Darren Williams, old and therefore bad at defense. Like, you just can't play a lot of these guys.
Darren Williams, old or young, bad at defense. But go ahead.
True, but like when prime Darren Williams was not anywhere near as bad as he is now.
Oh no, now Darren Williams is laughably bad. He's not particularly, he has no pop. Really, he's a shooter. That's what they brought him in to do. In case Kyle Lowry got hot, we need a body to throw at Kyle Lowry. And then also, when LeBron's on the court, can we put 4 shooters around him and have him sling the ball all around and hurt people? But it looks terrible. It doesn't look good. If you see that one play in which LeBron fell asleep in the NBA Finals, wasn't paying attention to the inbound pass, and the ball skipped like 2 feet next to him, went to Kevin. He ran towards Kevin full speed. Kevin gave him one little pump fake.
And LeBron was on a slip and slide.
LeBron's baseball slid into the next century. Oh, it was so... That was the moment. That was the moment where I was like, maybe they might go 16-0 in the playoffs.
Like LeBron was on a slip and slide. That there was a very...
It was so terrible. I mean, it was beautiful, but it was also terrible. This is the point. I think that's what we've done is we've written a little soliloquy. We've written a little bit of a headstone. We've had a requiem for the Cavs. We've already buried him. We're throwing dirt with our shovels. And that's going to read the headstone. It was beautiful, but terrible. That's on the headstone. Cavs, 2016 to 2017, former NBA champions. That's how it's reading. I'm calling it.
I mean, look, I get it, because the problem with the Cavs is this. My biggest problem with them is they have a disturbing lack of two-way players, right? So, like, despite all the guys that I just named that are pretty solid on offense, ranging from pretty solid to actually really good on offense, but horrible on defense, you have players on this roster who are the other part of the equation. Dante Jones, who is an all-right defender and mostly there to be, your dirt guy, can't score. And Iman Shumpert, who's good at defense, can't score. Like, what are you supposed to do?
J.R. Smith J.R. Smith died.
I don't know what it is.
Hear from J.R. Smith? Did he get on the bus? Are we sure someone call his mom? Let's get the police involved. He was nowhere to be seen.
J.R. Smith made that 1-3 in the first quarter.
Curry might as well have been playing lockdown defense, because I don't even remember him taking a shot. That's how unmemorable the performance was.
I do remember him taking a shot. It was the very first shot of the game, in fact. He made that corner 3, and that was the last time I saw or heard from J.R. Smith.
They were like, J.R. Smith! And then someone came and abducted him. Let's get Liam Neeson involved. Somebody do something. You know what? I'm done with this. I'm done talking about this series. Let's see what happens on Sunday. You and I will actually be in the same place at the same time. We will watch the game. We will watch the Cavs probably get destroyed. And then we will have some good times laughing at, J.R. Smith attempting to play defense, or Kyrie Irving running and dead into a pick and roll and taking the full pick, so as to be nowhere near the play when it happens. I've seen it done many a time in that game. That kind of thing.
Right, like there was the play where he runs away. He runs with JR to go defend Steph. Was just like, man, you know what? You can't posterize me if I'm not even in the frame. But yeah, no. I'm gonna let's talk about free agency though, because Chris Paul's gonna be a free agent, and Chris Paul can make the max $200 million from the Clippers, but the Clippers are a hot mess. So the question then becomes, do you stick around with the Clippers and collect your paycheck, or do you try and get this ring, try and get something for your legacy, and head to the San Antonio Spurs, which people say he is considering doing?
Okay, for me, what this is Chris Paul signaling to the Spurs, wink, 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 wink. If you can clear enough cap space to get a number that I think is acceptable to me, I'm coming your way. Because Chris Paul, I think he's not as concerned with legacy, but he knows he's very cognizant. I wouldn't see how he couldn't be, given the thousands of radio people and television people and NBA sports writers who keep saying Chris Paul has never been to even to the Western Conference Finals. How can we consider him great? Yada, 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 so on and so forth. So he's very cognizant of that fact. But the thing is, he was the person who was he was the NBA the player union president, and so he was the person who put that mega deal for old people into the new CBA. This whole $200, a ridiculous $1 billion contract he's about to sign, 32 going on 33, is him for him. Like he'll be fine dying on the Clippers if he can go to the bank and cash $200 million of Steve Ballmer's money. It won't be that difficult for him to get over it, is what I'm thinking. So if the Spurs can't clear it, and it's not a given that they can, they're pretty tied up, he's just going to stay with the Clippers. The Clippers will probably bring most of that core back, and they'll lose to like the Spurs or the Warriors or the Utah Jazz. One of these teams are like, all those teams are technically better.
Not technically. They are actually better. And here's the thing with Chris Paul too. Like when you look at his legacy, to me, I always thought it was very unfair with Chris Paul, what we've done with him, which is, oh man, Chris Paul can't make it out of the second round of the playoffs. And yet we bemoan how weak the Eastern Conference is. We talk about how loaded the West is. And then we're shocked that one of the players that's really great kind of ends up getting shafted in the whole deal. Like, how is this surprising at all?
Right. Like the thing is that everyone can't win, though. You got Stockton and Malone ever winning a ring. You've got NBA greats who never got a chance to do that. Now, the thing might be Chris Paul just isn't designed. His play style he never got the right pieces around him so that he could really succeed. And when he did get like another piece in Blake Griffin never really got to he had maybe a 4-month stretch in which Blake Griffin looked otherworldly. It was a combo, sort of a conflation of all the things that we loved about Blake Griffin. It was the athleticism, finally catching up to the skill, and he had a bit of a shot, and all of these things were coming together, and he looked dominant. Like he would take the ball, he would be running the ball up the floor on fast breaks, and people saw real terror in their eyes because you didn't know if he was going to dime it and drop it off or just run it down your throat. And then he got hurt. And then he got hurt again, and this kind of just messed up Clippers' whole plan. You can't count on Blake Griffin. DJ is a net zero on offense, and if you try to pay all three of those dudes, what you get is no role players and an aging point guard, oft-injured power forward, and a dude who just doesn't really qualify as an all-star level talent. So, yeah, the Clippers are a mess. And really, they should have blown it up 2 years ago. They could have gotten something for Blake Griffin, could have gotten something for Chris Paul, but, some organizations are just run by Doc Rivers, which is a mess. I don't know of itself.
Yeah, that is the mess right there. The other thing, too, about Doc Rivers and the Clippers organization is the tragedy of Blake Griffins' entire career, which is that when Blake Griffin was his most athletic, he had no skills to speak of. And now that he has skills, he has no athleticism to speak of because the injuries robbed him of that. That's just kind of tragic to me in a way that just sort of always reeked of unfairness,
Yeah, it's tragic in the way that sports will be tragic sometimes. We'll just be like, this guy has all, like, the ceiling is ridiculously high, and we all know it's ridiculously high. We all agree we could turn left and right to our neighbor, and then we just never get to see the ceiling. And it's in the same thing when you got Brandon Roy or any of the football players that, like, you could, like, Len Bias getting, like, dying of a drug overdose at 18. Like, it's sad in that way. I mean, it's not that sad. That was like,
yeah, that's as sad as it can
tears
get.
Came from my eyes on that. Not when that happened, but when I watched the documentary. That was like actual sad. This is more like, oh man.
Yeah, it's just a mildly tragic. Now that you've mentioned Len Bias, I can't actually call it tragic. But yeah, it's
no, when we get to the actual tragedy.
Yeah.
I might have gone too big. Can I walk that back? Is that an option?
I feel like we've spoken it out there, so we just kind of have to ride with it. But I see your point. So I want to talk about Lonzo Ball a little bit because the Lakers were having a workout with Lonzo Ball, and the word on the street was if Lonzo Ball does not blow the doors off of this workout, we might go with somebody else.
And yeah, and this is the thing. Lonzo Ball is not an individual one-on-one player. I'm not sure why he let the Lakers schedule him for a one-on-one workout. Could someone explain this to me? Like, the brilliance of Lonzo Ball is probably better shown in if you bring in multiple prospects, like what the Cavs did with Tristan Thompson a few years back. Like, they brought Tristan Thompson in, they worked him out one-on-one. He was not that great because Tristan Thompson has no real offensive skill set to speak of, and so I couldn't shoot. And so, but they brought him back 3-on-3, and they were like, just go against these other dudes who are going to be drafted in the same draft as you. And he beat the doors off those dudes. They were draft prospects, like he was draft prospects. And he was better than them because he knew exactly what he was. And if Lonzo Ball plays exactly as what we think he is, which is basically Jason Kidd who can shoot, like that level of floor presence and vision, he'll be great. But if you bring him one-on-one, he's not going to beat dudes off the dribble. He didn't do it in college.
Right.
Where are we getting this from?
Yeah, that's why he got smoked by De'Aaron Fox. I don't understand. But yeah, no, if Lonzo Ball is a guy that, and I know the word intangibles gets thrown around, it's a cliche at this point, but intangibles are just basically things that you cannot actually measure by watching it or with a ruler or whatever. Lonzo is definitely an intangibles guy. Like, what he brings to the game, you can't just have a workout and see. That's an odd way for them to go about deciding to not take a serious look at Lonzo Ball in this draft.
Here's the thing. If you take Lonzo Ball, it's that what you're taking is a dude who knows what he can do and who's going to come in and do that. And in like 3 years, you'll have maybe not a top 10 point guard, but a guy who runs your system so beautifully that it's like a Mike Conley type player, the kind of dude who's going to be worth $130 million to you. He may not be worth $130 million to another team, but I would listen. There are many teams that would kill to have Mike Conley, so that's what you're kind of looking for in Lonzo Ball. Not like that Mike Conley's a good comp. Mike Conley's probably more De'Aaron Fox than Lonzo, but still.
Yeah, but I actually thought that the Lakers might actually be considering De'Aaron Fox if Lonzo Ball was a place that they decided not to go.
The word on the street is that Magic saw De'Aaron Fox beat Lonzo, and then Magic is like, "I want that kid. I came to see this one. I want the kid with Fox on the back of his jersey, the one that dropped 39 and destroyed his counter."
I feel like Magic Johnson is the Al Davis of the modern sports world because he looks at people with just gives them the eyeball test and goes, "Yes, him."
He's like, and listen, that works for a lot of, because if you just look at someone and be like, "You're an athletic freak," then it's hard to be, "Oh no, you got that so wrong." But sometimes you do get that wrong. Like the Raiders did get run down, and after they won that Super Bowl, and then they were battling the Patriots. Basically, after the Tuck rule, there was no more speak of the Raiders, and then they came back well after his death. But for me, what's worrisome is that I watched that game and had the same thought, but I am not I don't fly to different countries and watch all the prospects. I don't watch near enough basketball to make that decision. My worry is that Magic Johnson is as educated about this decision as I am, and he's going to make the wrong decision because by no means pick who I should pick. At least give me more information than I saw them in a basketball game, a single 40-minute college basketball game, which proves nothing. And that's what I'm deciding on. That just seems like poor judgment.
Yeah, and it's the same single basketball game that the rest of us all saw. That's the problem. It's not like he saw some special workout.
De'Aaron Fox.
I say that?
Oh, so I still love the De'Aaron Fox, though. You know, like, I would be happy to take that kid. That kid cares. That kid cares. I know he doesn't shoot, but I don't. Honestly, that never really bugged me the way it bugged other people. Like, there are plenty of point guards who can't shoot, and I know that kills your spacing or whatever, but he cares and he guards people and he can come in and have an immediate impact. And we can trade one of these other sorry point guards who are running out there, and D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah, and I feel like watching John Wall his whole career, for me, shooting is a teachable skill. You can not shoot when you come in the league, and 5-6 years in.
You. Did you just get a little country on me? A little country comes into your voice. What is happening?
I don't understand. I didn't hear it in my own voice.
I heard me watching John Wall for his whole career. I heard a career, not a career, which is the word.
Well, you know that I'm confused. I'm confused my whole life. Look, I've been in Tennessee long enough now. This is just how I talk now, bro. It's not how this is how I talk now.
You done changed. What is happening?
You live in Texas. I don't want to hear this from you. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Celtics, number 1 pick in the draft. We've got a minute left. Who do they take?
Markelle Fultz. If they take anybody else, it's a bad decision, and they will be laughed at, and they will regret it. Take Markelle Fultz, and then just live with the shame if you get it wrong.
I completely agree, because there's this idea that, he's not going to fit with Isaiah and all of that stuff, and it's like, who cares? He's the best prospect in the entire draft. And if you, again, I use the eye defense, which is I have eyes, and at some point you can overthink something, or you can just see it and know. Markelle Fultz is obviously the best prospect in this entire draft.
You want to go number 2? I think the Lakers may take Josh Jackson. They may take him.
Okay, you got 20 seconds. Why Josh Jackson?
Why Josh Jackson? You could take Jason Tatum in that same spot. He's probably about the same level of fit, but take a kid who can pass. Don't take people who don't have any court vision. You could teach most things. You could improve shooting. If people can't pass or won't pass, it takes forever to break that. And ask Russell Westbrook. Sometimes they just never do.
Fair enough. You've been listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you all next week.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Competent, kind, caring, knowledgeable, experienced, great listener, great negotiator, in touch, accessible. If these are the characteristics you want and need in a realtor, you want and need Thomas DeMoss of Keller Williams Realty. Thomas is a very gifted realtor who puts the client